Hello, everyone. Welcome to Webinar Wednesday. I'm Rae Stonehouse, and I'm your host for this evening's webinar. Our topic for discussion this evening is Talk Up Toastmasters, how to promote your club events. I'm joined this evening by two of my fellow D21 members, and I'm going to introduce them in a moment or so. But before I do, I'd like to go through some housekeeping comments. The participant mics will be muted throughout this webinar. So if you have any questions, and we'd love to hear them, please use the chat function, and I'll try to have the questions answered at the time if it fits into our discussion at the time, or we'll address it during our closing question and answer section. We are recording the webinar. It's recording right now, and it'll be available on our D21 website, as well as our D21 YouTube channel, which is D21 Toastmasters, in the next day or so. So this webinar is directed at members who are serving as Club VP of Public Relations. But really, we're hoping that any member that's interested and willing to help their club out with marketing and promoting, whether they're officially in the public relations position or whether they have the experience or not, we're hoping that everybody's interested in it. A fact that seems to be easily forgotten is that our Toastmasters executive positions are learning ones. We don't expect you to be an expert when you take on the officer role, but we do know that you will gain experience while in that office. That's certainly been my experience over the years. So why this topic and why now? Talk Up Toastmasters is a Toastmasters International program that runs from February 1st to March 31st. Now, at the time of recording, that final date's coming up pretty shortly. So I'm just going to read it from the website, what it says about Talk Up Toastmasters, give you an idea what it's about. So this is a Talk Up Toastmasters membership program is a chance to encourage your members to invite guests to special meeting where prospective members can learn about Toastmasters' many benefits. Then if you add 5 new, dual, or reinstated members with a join date between February 1st and March 31st, you'll receive a special Talk Up Toastmasters ribbon to display on your club's banner. Qualifying clubs can also earn a special discount code for 10% off their next club order. So there's an incentive in doing so, as well as the advantage of having new members in your club. So we have 2 guests with us. You're looking at live feeds, so you're looking at them. So we have on my right, I'm assuming she's on everybody else's right as well, we have Samantha Baker from, I've got it right, High Country Achievers in Kamloops. Is that right?
Yeah.
Wave? Okay. And then we have, I'll get this right, Karen Taipalus. Did I get it right?
That's right.
Close enough. From, no, is this Ambassadors, Tsawwassen Toastmasters? And you tell me is it in Delta or you in Delta?
Well, it's the Ambassadors Tsawwassen Mills Toastmasters, and it's officially in Tsawwassen, which is part of Delta. So you could say it's a Delta club.
Okay, so welcome to the 2 of you. I'm going to start off with Samantha. What I'm going to do is ask some questions. We're going to explore, well, I guess the reason that I asked the 2 of you to join in the first place. I'll ask a series of questions, and our audience, feel free to put your questions into our chat line. I'll try to monitor the chat and fit the questions in as we go through. If not, as I said in the housekeeping there, I'll address them later on. And while I'm talking to one guest, the other, feel free to, if you have something that you thought of or from your perspective, this is try to make an interactive discussion. So jump in wherever you want. Okay, so starting with Samantha. Now, my understanding is that you promoted an open house that was quite successful. Am I even close on, on that?
We just recently had a business summit or open house. We kind of called it both. And yeah, it was quite successful. We had between 20 to 25 guests.
Yes, 25 guests.
Yeah. So yeah, a lot more than we anticipated. We only expected to get between 10 to 15. So definitely surpassed that. And yeah, we had 2 amazing guest speakers that spoke very well, and the guests seemed to really like them.
Okay, before you get into any further detail, I should have asked you, as this webinar is designed for District 21, but we do tend to get visitors from around the world. So Kamloops, I know where Kamloops is. How would you like to share with the rest of the world? Give us an idea where Kamloops is, so we'll explore it from that way.
For sure. So Kamloops is located in the interior of BC. We're kind of along the Thompson River. We're kind of a little in between a small and big town. So I'd say, we're smaller than Vancouver, but we're bigger than a lot of like our towns that surround us.
But not as big as Kelowna, though.
Not quite, but we're getting there. We're growing pretty quickly. So
there's always a rivalry between Kelowna and Kamloops. So I hear, anyways. I don't know. Okay, so high country achievers.
Yeah.
How big is tell us about your club, and what's the nature of your club? Is there a certain demographic? Like, are you retired people? You're obviously not a retired person.
No, not yet. So our club, it's located at Desert Gardens, which is a seniors village in Kamloops, which is kind of unique. It's nice and quiet, and it's kind of a public space underneath the seniors village, so kind of cool. Our average club member varies from being a student at the university, because we do have a university here in town, and our university has a vast demographic of international students as well as domestic students. So we get students from every country in the world. And a lot of them come to Toastmasters and will join for a year or so while they're doing their semester here in town. But we also do have quite a few people who have been members of Toastmasters for over 25 years, such as Karen and Leslie. And there are senior members. Well, I wouldn't say senior, but like our older members. But yeah, we have people from small business owners to people who work for large corporations and companies come in, and it's a huge influx of different people all the time. There's no one set demographic. So
before you had this open house, do you recall what your membership numbers were?
So before the open house, when I first joined Toastmasters in October, we had 8 members. And then once my boyfriend and myself joined, all of a sudden there started becoming probably a member a month. We are now up to 17 members and growing still rapidly. We have lots of people who are showing interest in possibly being members in the next few months or so. So it is a growing club, and there's lots of potential.
So this growth has been all in the last little while.
Yes.
Do you contribute the open house that you held to the growth from 8 members to 17 in several months?
Part of it is a couple of our members that joined right after the open house, a few weeks later, a month later, or something like that. And they were there for the first time at the open house. They didn't even know what Toastmasters was until that event. So I believe it did help in kind of spreading awareness. And a lot of people said that a family member or a friend went to this open house and invited them or advised them to go see Toastmasters later on. So even though they weren't at the event, a friend of a friend invited them in a weird way. So in a way, it was very successful. But some of our members also joined from other various reasons, such as like I have a few friends that I invited to Toastmasters. So it wasn't because of the open house, but yeah, all for different reasons, I guess.
Okay, tell us about the open house. What was you said it's a business one, which obviously you had a theme that's a little bit different than a regular meeting. Can you share with us about that?
Certainly.
The overall view. We'll get into some details later on, but just an overall, what it was about, why you thought of it, or who thought of it, or how it came about. So the open house was originally planned before I even became a member.
And then I kind of got rapidly put into an executive position. So I really had no idea what I was doing. But with the open house, it kind of was, we had 2 wonderful guest speakers, and it was presented similarly to what a meeting would be. Like we had the structure, introductions, things like that. And then we would have our guest speakers. And then we had a little bit of a closing round and some networking as well. And overall, even though it didn't follow necessarily a full Toastmaster formula, it was very similar to a regular meeting, as in our guest speakers became our main speakers that we would have in a regular meeting, I guess, just a little extended.
Were your guest speakers current Toastmaster members or somebody from the community?
Somebody from the community. So we had Patty Kay, and she came in. She's a marketer, and she does a lot of advertising for small businesses and things like that. And
she's also she's a Toastmaster.
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, definitely.
But not from our club.
No, she's from the coast, Victoria, yeah. I believe.
So she came in and she talked about marketing and how it can benefit a business. And then we had Justin Young, who isn't a Toastmaster. He's an inspirational speaker that travels across Canada to elementary schools. And we had him talk a little bit more about how public speaking can benefit any business, including the business that he runs, which is inspirational speaking. So, and how that's helped him.
Is he based out of Kamloops?
Yes.
That's how they were able to get him there. Somebody knew him?
I knew him. So
oh, you do?
Our original Toastmaster that was going to be doing a speech for us, unfortunately had some bad news and wasn't able to attend. So we had to find a replacement pretty quick. So.
Okay, so what was your role in you were quickly put into the executive. What was your role in bringing this whole event together?
I did a little bit of advertising via Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and then I also invited our second guest speaker as like our temporary speaker to fill the spot that we needed. And yeah, that pretty much my role was just creating the event page, as well as providing insight on what we should do for the specific events, such as snacks or drinks, or what we were going to do in the planning of it.
So when you said advertising, did you have an advertising budget as in money, or are you referring more to public relations and marketing?
Public relations
as in free?
Free stuff.
Free stuff. Yeah. Toastmasters free. Yeah.
Well, we did do paper articles as well. And
what do you mean by like that? You mean printed out paper versions of an ad, or what? In the newspaper. Oh, okay.
So in our local like weekly newspapers and stuff, we did have an ad posted in that. Was that a paid ad or a free one? I don't think it was paid. Okay. I think it was free.
You're lucky if you were able to do that.
And then we also were able to advertise on their radio station as well. Like
a public service announcement?
Kind of. It was very quick. It was more so, come, we're having an open house. You're all welcome to join for a business summit. And that's pretty much, I think, all that was said.
Okay, tell us about your social media initiatives. How did you market this event?
So as I said, during this event, because this event happened a few months ago, I was very new into my executive role. So I advertised mostly Facebook. I created a Facebook event, which is quite easy to do. And then I added absolutely everybody on my Facebook onto that event so that they had to share it. And it kind of grew from there. And we also use Meetup for our club, and it is a paid form of social media, I guess, in a way. And so one of our members was running that, and that was quite successful in advertising as well.
Were you able to determine how many guests came from your either your Facebook versus radio versus newspaper versus Meetup? Was there a breakdown?
Yeah, the majority is from Meetup. I want to say more like about 60% of them. And then the rest of them were kind of a combination of just word of mouth, Facebook, and stuff like that. So a very small percent was actually successful from the Facebook as well as the radio and newspaper. I think about 4 people who attended said it was from the article that they saw in the newspaper.
Okay, so Meetup, did you have an existing account that you had been using before this particular meeting?
Yes.
So the real difference was the meeting, not just the fact that it was on Meetup. It's just that you had a special agenda or plan for your meeting.
Yes.
That's what made the difference.
Yeah, just letting them know that it's not just the same old basic meeting, that it's something exciting and an event, kind of like how you, I guess, advertise a conference in a weird way. Like we have 2 guest speakers. It's going to be great. There's going to be food, coffee, and food always brings people in.
I guess something that many people might not be aware that watching this live and in recording is that District 21 currently our district director is willing to pay for clubs that want to have a meetup presence. In that we have not too sure how it works out, but it's a district membership. I know in the Okanagan there's 4 or 5, well, actually in Kelowna area, there's 4 or 5 clubs that have a meetup. I had one originally for my own home club as Kelowna Flying Solo Toastmasters, and I had a meetup, and basically over for a year or so, I didn't have success with it. But then again, I was only promoting regular meetings. I really wasn't putting anything, sexy or attractive or something to really draw the attention to people. So it didn't work for me, but you're giving evidence of, putting something different out there where the value really is.
Mm-hmm. I was quite surprised because I had never heard of Meetup before I joined Toastmasters. So it's been a learning curve trying to figure out how to work the site and how it to maneuver it.
Well, the advantage to Meetup for businesses as well as nonprofit organizations is that you're basically able to create a website to be able to promote yourself as part of it. So you can put your club banner, whatever you have. If you have another website, if you have a banner, you can put content in there. You can have discussions. So while it's an event notification service, there is a lot of advantage for a club to have a meetup presence because they get indexed by the search engines. So if somebody's looking for a Toastmasters club in your community, the meetup will pop up in the search end results. They go there and they can see, and the other value of it is that people will sign up for your meetup. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're a potential guest or they're going to show up. It's like planting a seed. They keep seeing your events over and over again. Maybe sometime in the future, listen, I'm getting tired of this. I got to go out and go visit a club meeting.
Yeah.
So
I think one of the tricks maybe with Meetup is not just always saying that it's a public speaking club. You could throw other keywords in there like socializing and leadership, buzzwords, things like that might attract a different group that maybe normally might not think about public speaking but wants to network and socialize and develop their leadership skills as well. So I think that might be something that would work too for me.
I think you're right on there. That goes back to the sales formula: sell the sizzle, not the steak. So you're not telling people, yes, we do public speaking, but we're not about public speaking. We're about building your self-confidence, building your self-esteem, developing leadership skills. Oh yeah, and by the way, we do it by public speaking. You want to keep low key on that part. It's what we do, but it's not what we're about. It's all the other benefits.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I've asked you about the strategies you've used to promote it, and we talked about the meetup seemed to work better than the other ones. Is there anything you can think of that really didn't work in your promotion, or you had higher hopes for?
Yeah, definitely. So we definitely thought that Facebook was going to bring more people in than anything else because a lot of people use Facebook. And we were quite surprised that Meetup was actually the more dominant use of social media that really brought people in. And other than that, I think for the most part, like just having different sources caters to different audiences. So for instance, because it was a small business meetup, a small business summit, as you were saying, a lot of business people would use something like Meetup. Whereas if we were, say, trying to hone in on, say, students as a student summit or a leadership summit, we would probably advertise in a different manner as well, or promote in a different social media manner.
Yeah, that's a good point. You've also got the challenge, I would think. You said you're in a retirement home?
Yeah, it doesn't appear as a retirement home, though.
Okay. I know clubs, I've heard discussions with the clubs that meet in funeral homes, which kind of, yeah, come and live a little. Come on to Toastmasters at the, at the funeral home. So, but they're not knowing that. One of the, I'm not a social media expert, but I do spend a lot of time on social media, and probably even more so now in this role that I'm in with public relations. And I am the VP of public relations for my own club for many years. Is that Facebook is constantly going through changes.
Yeah.
So at one time with your Facebook page, you used to be able to put content up, and people would love it and they would share it. But nowadays, they're into two things. They were just in the news the other day. They're in trouble for selling contact information. But that, so the article I saw in news, if you drill down deeply into it, that's part of Facebook's business model, is to make money selling demographic information on their customers. We're the customers as Facebook users. So there's a little bit of a conflict of interest there. So they're trying to monetize Facebook. So in the days before, you would post something and would go to almost everybody else's timeline that you're attached to. But now the algorithms have changed. You've probably noticed it yourself, that you're only seeing maybe a couple handfuls of people that you're connected to on a regular basis, even though you might be connected to multiple hundreds of people. If you don't, communicate with them on a regular basis, they won't see your information. So clubs that have, that's the only. What's that?
And you won't see theirs either. So
that's correct. That's right. So So the project with putting it on the newspaper, putting it on the radio, meetup, and Facebook, multi-prong approach paid off. Because if you had solely on Facebook, which a lot of clubs might have done, you would be super disappointed because you saw what your return was on that, your response rate. Facebook, they want you to spend money.
Yeah.
So another option, if you had the budget to have done so, might have been to run a Facebook campaign for maybe a week. Now, my understanding is that there's a method you can do it for like under $10 a day.
Yeah.
And you can run it for a week for $70. Well, $70 is a budget for, most Toastmaster Club events is well within our budgets. I haven't done it yet. I want to do it. So it's on my future.
We're planning on doing something like that too for future events. Is something that we're working towards. We have a birthday party this week coming up, and so we didn't promote it, but we created a video for it, which is kind of cool. It's really unique to our club, and we're hoping to make more videos like that. Saying that, we hope to make it more promoted through that option using Facebook, and also I believe Instagram and Twitter are now moving that way as well. So trying to decide which platform works best.
So are you changing your demographic? Are you going for a younger member such as yourself, university, college age?
I think we're going for all members, really. The video itself is kind of, the one that I created was more like a documentary. So it kind of hones into a lot of older people as well as younger people, and it's just kind of being like, hey, we're having a birthday party, but it's really kind of unique. I don't know how to explain it.
Well, we'll have to wait and see. I look forward to it. So with this project, what did you learn from it that you share with others that you would not do again, if anything?
So for the business summit specifically, it was really catered to really honed in onto one audience, and yes, it was very successful for that audience. And I wouldn't say only ever doing business summits continually. I think we should expand and do like a business summit, maybe a leadership summit, and changing it and developing it to meet different demographics throughout. And sorry, hold on. There we go. And so, yeah, I think what would have been more successful is possibly doing a little bit more of that paid advertisement for specific events like that. And I think that's something that we should look for in the future, and we would probably get even a larger audience showing up for that.
One of our Webinar Wednesdays, I believe it was last week, was actually a video with Carol Carter, our district director, and Joe Gannett, which is our, I guess, title club growth director. Not sure if that's true or not. and they call it a slam down. They were arguing. Carol was in favor of open houses, and Joe he's not a fan of open houses, and he was promoting an invite a friend night.
Mm-hmm.
So if you had been a member of that panel discussion, would you be for open after seeing what you're new to Toastmasters, so this might be I'm guessing part of your first open house. Would you be in favor of open houses? Would you recommend other clubs what would you suggest for them to do?
I would suggest doing both, because open houses really cater into a lot of people who might be more extrovert and be willing to step out into those boundaries and go alone. Whereas if you bring a friend, you might be bringing that introvert friend who might be a little bit more timid and a little more fearful of going by themselves. So I think both events cater into two different audiences as well, and can be beneficial for your club in different ways, depending on how you're hoping to highlight your club.
Okay.
Because with the summit, for instance, we did it a little bit different. We did it more like a conference where we had 2 guest speakers, we had food, we had things like that. Whereas on our regular meetings, it's a little bit different, and it's a lot more structured and shorter speeches, things like that. Which
no food?
No, we don't have that. Every once in a while, Leslie spoils us and brings cookies.
I know Leslie. I saw her before Christmas, actually, at a webinar session we were at in Kelowna. Okay. I'm looking at the chat questions, and I haven't seen any questions come up for Samantha yet. So if you're listening live to this, feel free to put your questions in chat, and we'll try to fit them in. So let's move on to Karen. Now, I've been hearing from our district director, Carol Carter, that you're legendary in getting articles about Toastmasters posted in your local newspaper. She tells me that I guess her mother lives in that area, and every time she reads one of your articles, she cuts it out and she calls Carol right away. Oh, Toastmasters are in the paper. Is that true? I don't know about the Carol part, but are you legendary?
Well, I might be legendary in my club. I don't know about the area, but I know that Carol's been really nice, and I think you're right. Her mother does live in Tsawwassen, and she does monitor the local paper. So we do get a lot of coverage. So I guess Carol's quite informed on that. So
oh, good. I'm glad. Okay, let's start off by hearing about your club. Tell us your club name and some history of it.
Okay, well, our club has been around for about 18 years. The name of the club is the Ambassadors Tsawwassen Mills Toastmasters, and we meet on the 2nd and 4th Tuesday of every month at the Tsawwassen Mills Mall. It's a brand new mall on the Tsawwassen First Nations land in Tsawwassen, and they've been kind enough to give us a room there. It's the training room, and which holds probably a good 30 to 40 people. So it's quite large, and what else can I say? We've got about 22 members right now. We're just a really fun club. We welcome all different groups and types of people. We don't really have a specific target audience, as it were. I would say most of our club members are anywhere from about 35 to the age of 60, and pretty much all from the Delta area.
Okay, for our worldwide viewers, perhaps listening from Australia, where's Tsawwassen in relationship to Vancouver and BC?
Vancouver. Okay, so Delta is just south of Vancouver, so it's probably about a 40 to 45 minute car ride into Vancouver. So okay. It's a suburb of Vancouver.
And how big is Tsawwassen?
What's
population-wise?
In population, I would say maybe 25,000, I'm guessing. All of Delta is about 100, so between Tsawwassen, Ladner, and North Delta, we have about 100,000 in Delta.
Okay, so a fairly large population to draw from. So how many other Toastmaster clubs would there be in your, I don't want to say region, but area, like close, like traveling time?
Yeah, in Delta, I believe, and I could be wrong, but I think there's about 6 clubs in Delta, and that includes all 3 areas of Delta. So, yeah, about 6 at least.
Okay, remind me, how many members did you say you had?
We have 22.
Okay, that's a healthy size. Okay, So tell me about some of the articles you submitted to the newspaper. Just in general. We'll drill down a little bit a little later, but just some ideas. Like what would you send to a newspaper?
Okay, well, we have an annual open house every January where we have a special guest come in and provide and deliver a speech. So I always have somebody assigned to taking photographs. We have one sort of photographer in the group, and he has a new iPhone, so he takes amazing pictures. So we take a lot of pictures at our events, and then after the event's over, I will typically either write up the article in the form of a press release. I find that the Toastmasters templates are really helpful on the TI International website. So I will write up the article in the form of a press release or just in the body of the email along with some photos. And I usually try to do that within a week after the event's over. And then the newspaper, which is called The Optimist, is really good about publishing articles. So they will cover pretty much actually 100% of what I submit. So it's fantastic. We've got articles on open houses. We have an annual pub night every February that's hosted by a local pub in Tsawwassen. And we have like a $5 ticket night. So, you know, they come in for $5. You get a beer and entrance to the event kind of thing. So that's always quite popular. We have the Area 40 Humorous Contest every fall, and I usually submit an article about that with who the winners are. The spring contest that we just had, in fact, I'll be submitting a photo probably tomorrow to the Optimist again. And we had a 15-year anniversary a couple of years ago, and they did a big article on that. We actually had a photographer from the newspaper come to one of our pub nights, and I tried again this year. He unfortunately couldn't make it, but yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, they're really good about publishing. They like to cover a lot of things locally. They're really great about that. And I think people like to see themselves in the paper. So, you know, if I write the article, they're actually really good about publishing it, pretty much 100%.
Well, that brings up my point that getting articles in the newspaper in some ways is old style or old school marketing. And many communities, especially the larger one, it's like pulling teeth to get an article into a newspaper, you know, a larger circulation newspaper. From conversations I've had with members from smaller communities or remote communities through, mostly before District 21 subdivided, we were the entire province of British Columbia. So there were some remote clubs. They had it easier because the newspapers were desperately looking for some content to put in. So what's your secret formula, your secret sauce to get, how does this work out?
Well, I think we're just unique in Ladner. Well, the Delta Optimist gets delivered to Ladner and Tsawwassen. And I think because it's just been around for such a long time, and they've just always been really good about publishing articles that sent in. So I wouldn't really say it's any secret sauce so much as it is that I take the initiative in writing the whole article.
Do other clubs do it or just you?
Do other clubs do it? Well, I know Ladner has a club called the Deltones. I don't think they do much submission to the local paper. I don't really see much there from them. It seems to be us more often. And maybe just, like I said, Delta is unique that way, that this paper, it's been around for over 100 years, and it's a small town newspaper. Everybody reads it on a daily basis. You can walk down the street and someone will say, hey, did you see, you know, that article in The Optimist? It just seems to be something that everybody reads locally. And they're really good to their readers, and I think they just like to really publish local interest news stories. So they're really welcoming that way. And it's, like I said, no secret sauce. It's just writing the article for them and sending in the photo and doing their work, I guess.
So do you think it's because you personally have developed the relationship with them, or is it an ongoing one that you stepped into based on Toastmasters, or is it you personally?
I honestly don't know what the previous VP of PR did in terms of the newspaper articles. I know they have a section called events. So every Monday I send in the little blurb about the Toastmasters, and they publish it in the event section. So that gets pretty much updated.
Okay, so that's over and above an article.
That's correct. Yep. Yeah.
So people are seeing it in different ways. or different
Yeah.
different areas. So you mentioned that you send it in as a press release, or in other words, media advisory. Do you find that way is more effective than sending in a already crafted article, or do you use either depending on the situation?
Well, I started off the first few times I did the press release just because I guess I had the time and I wanted to use the template. But honestly, I have to say I haven't really noticed much of a difference between whether I send in the press release or whether I draft it myself. I've gotten the same response every time it gets published. So I wouldn't really say that the press release makes any difference. I think perhaps for maybe a bigger newspaper or perhaps a periodical, the press release would make more sense because it's a bit more official, has a Toastmasters logo on top, and it just looks more official. So I think maybe for a larger publication, it would be beneficial to use the press release. I just noticed for our local paper, it has really not made a difference. So I think
are they contacting you before publishing, or just basically cutting and pasting word for word what you feed them?
Pretty much word for word what I feed them, which is great.
That's a pretty good deal.
It's a very good deal, and it's free. We haven't really spent a dime on any newspaper advertisements, and every time we do submit an article about an upcoming open house, or let's say a contest or the pub night, it definitely draws people in. People read it, and we've had guests show up as a result of those articles, and the event listing as well. In fact, I would say most of our guests show up as a result of the newspaper coverage versus anything that I tweet or that I post on Facebook or our website.
That actually is a segue into my next question. When you get in, you're reading. Well, you got the script. So when you're reading the article, when you're writing the article and it's published, you cross promote on any social media. You take advantage or leverage it. Yes.
So, for instance, the day it comes out, or like within the day or two after it gets published, I will tweet about it, and I will have a link to the digital version of the newspaper, the article, and I also put it on our Facebook site and also our website as well. And I just recently learned that we had a pub night, and I just found out actually from one of our members, our treasurer, that actually got cross-promoted, and I wasn't even aware of it, but it actually showed up in a few other publications. I wrote them down here, but I think one was the North Shore News, one was the Burnaby News. It appeared in the GF Strong Spinal Cord newsletter, and there was a third newspaper as well. So it actually got published a number of times. I think it's because the company that owns the local paper owns those newspapers as well. So for whatever reason, they thought it was a good human interest story, and that got published in all those other newspapers, which was fantastic for us.
Not quite viral, but certainly lots of exposure.
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
That's pretty good.
As you're posting pictures of people, do you also have your members sign a press release form for consent?
I learned that at the Toastmasters training, and actually we haven't done it. We haven't really thought about it, and the previous PR person never mentioned it to me either. Like, it hasn't been brought up, but that's a good point. We really should be doing that, especially at a pub night or open house where we do have guests. We should have them sign a release form to say that it's okay that we take photos. But I guess at the time when we're taking the photo, we let them know what it's for, and they can choose to be in the photo or not. So, but it is a good idea, Sally. We should probably be doing that.
What we do with our club is we have all the members sign a press release, and then because I do a lot of videoing of our actual speeches so that they can see improvement themselves, and then I post them on YouTube. And so that's something else that we do that's a little bit unique, but I was just curious if you also were doing the press release.
So for anybody that's watching this webinar recorded, if you go to the Toastmasters International site and specifically put in the search item of video or permission releases or something to that effect, I'm not sure if it's in the RAND portal or not, they do have an official document that you can print out and have what you're talking about. The advantage to it is, while people may have no problems all right now having their picture in, their image in a video. If it's in cyberspace, it's there forever.
Exactly.
A year or 2 years down the road, a person's life circumstances could be changed. They may have a problem with stalkers. There's all kinds of different reasons. So while you have a record of who's in your video, they can revoke their permission. So you either blur their face, or it's a little bit of post-production thing, but technically that's the legal way to do it. So Karen, you talked about Twitter, you talked about Facebook. Does your club have a website?
Yes, we do. It's the ambassadors toastmasters.org, and it's been set up quite a while ago, probably by a VPPR a number of years ago. But I believe it's a program that was either available through Toastmasters International. I don't know the name of the program.
Free Toast?
I think it's something like that. It's quite easy. I log in as admin, and then I can just go in and update the pages and update the member profiles and things like that. So it must be the Free Toast. It's quite, I shouldn't say super easy to use, but once you kind of get in there and explore it, it's actually quite simple. So
what I'm leading to is, do you leverage it with the articles that you've posted? Do you post them in there?
I have mentioned the website, and I have my email there.
No, I don't mean that, but I mean links to your articles that you've had published in the newspaper. Like, do you leverage your articles on your website?
Yes, I do. Actually, yeah, every time it gets posted, I list it on the website as well as Facebook, and I have a link to the article. So, and I put it on all the social media platforms, our website, the Facebook, and on Twitter. So, yes.
With the search engines, it's getting harder and harder to have links like that become indexed, because like Facebook, Google is certainly monetizing itself. And the so-called organic searches, where you can, you plug in your Toastmasters club, and everything that you'd have posted on your website would pop up. Nowadays, you're lucky just to, if you put the exact words in, your club Toastmaster name, you're lucky if it shows up. That's with Google. Some of the other search engines are a little bit less. Some of them still index actual Facebook posts. So ideally, you want to get out as many possible. Can't think of any words. Going back to the idea of marketing is you need to touch your customers 7 to 11 times. Now, a touch isn't reaching out and grabbing them or anything like that, but a touch could be seeing your club name in writing. It could be seeing an article, as in the newspaper. It could be seeing a Facebook that Samantha was talking, like a Facebook entry or a Facebook event. So they keep meetup. They see these over and over again. Sometimes, it could be the second touch. It could be the 11th touch that they want to say, maybe I should go check it out this time.
Yeah, well, we really encourage all our members to set up a Twitter profile, and if they haven't, I'm more than willing to help them, and so that they could always retweet my message or the message from the ambassadors. Tsawwassen Mills tweet that I put out, they can tweet it to their followers and retweet, and also repost any Facebook messages. So we really encourage them to set up their own profiles as well, so that we reach not only just our own followers on Twitter, but theirs as well, just to kind of spread the word out a bit more. So, there's been a few people that have signed up and are starting to do that. So I'm really encouraging that at every meeting, and hopefully that'll really start to take off and spread the word about our club more, at least locally anyway. So.
Well, that's where your members are, not necessarily in Timbuktu.
Yeah.
However, you don't know. One of the previous webinars that I had was I can't remember what the topic was, and one of the very active audience members was asking a lot of questions, and I found out she was actually from Missouri. So
Oh, yeah.
she wasn't a D21 member, but she was very, very interested. So you don't know. I want to go back to that. You were talking about the media advisory or press release. You're using the Toastmasters template. I have seen the Toastmasters template. I'm looking at it for a media release I have to issue in the upcoming weeks about. I'm also on the District 21 Spring Conference Committee, the public relations for that. It's pretty dry. So how do you take that? How do you turn a media advisory into something exciting that gets people fired up that they want to read the rest of your article? Now, you know, there's no secret sauce, but
Yeah.
what do you do?
Well, I try to create a lot of quotes from our members. I try to make it funny. I try to just inject bits of information that I think will appeal to the people reading it, what might attract them to come to one of our Toastmasters meeting. And also try to get some quotes in from some guests. You know, why did they come to the meeting? What did they get out of it? And just try to appeal to people that are thinking about coming and what they might get out of it at the next meeting, or if they become a member, how they can improve, in the public speaking, leadership, and other roles. So I try not to focus necessarily just on the public speaking, but the other areas as well as the benefits of being a member.
One of our audience members has provided that the subject title is key. Do you have any comments on either of you? Do you have any comments on that? Because the same thing applies to your Facebook
Yeah.
or tweet.
Yeah, so I'll try to come up with a real creative caption for the press release, but quite often, depending on the space that the paper has for the article, they'll chop it down or 9 times out of 10 create their own heading anyway. So the heading,
okay.
Yeah, so the heading that much I don't have much control over in the newspaper. It's more the content and the picture, and I always make sure that I have all the information at the end on when we're meeting and where we're meeting and the time and who to contact. So there's always information to learn more, and so between all those things, I hope that works. It seems to be working. We get a lot of people coming to our events from the newspaper articles, more than actually our Facebook posts and other things we do around the community. So it seems to be really successful for us.
So Samantha, do you have any comments about, do you think writing an article might have worked for your open house or future open house? Any thoughts?
Well, we did have that one article in the newspaper as well for that event that ran for 2 weeks. I think that it definitely is helpful. I'm curious to know, besides articles, do you put anything else on your social media?
Well, every time we have like a contest or a special event, I will write about, probably do a paragraph or so and post probably 8 to 10 pictures from that evening, and then tag people. And everyone who has a Facebook profile, I will tag them in the photo, and the same with Twitter. There's probably not as many people in our club that have a Twitter profile, but whenever I can, I will mention them. I will put their Twitter handle in the tweet. So yeah, it really just depends on the event. I won't put a lengthy article on every single meeting, but I will if it's a contest or a special event like a pub night or an open house. Then I'll usually do it quite a bit more.
Okay. Something that I started doing, which I'm finding I'm getting a lot of feedback on, is I do like Tuesday TED Talks. So I post videos of other public speakers. And every Tuesday, and then every Wednesday I post a word. So it's Wednesday's word. And then if somebody is a grammarian and they've never been one before, they have a word on Facebook that they could use, or on Instagram, so that they, just in case, as a like precaution, and it has the definition and everything. And then Thursday, because our meetings are on Thursday, I do Thursday theme night, and I put the theme of the night. And I found leading up to the summit, we had a word set out, we had the theme set out and everything like that to add on to the event, which I think helps sometimes for people to kind of figure out what the club is going to be doing that night.
No, that's a great idea. I really like that idea. I mean, we have word of the night too, or theme of the night, and I haven't really capitalized on that as much as I should, because I think that's especially for Twitter, it's a nice short tweet to send out and to remind people and to
Mm-hmm.
and to build up some interest. So I like that idea.
Have either of you checked out the Toastmasters International website?
Yes, I follow.
Sorry, Facebook page.
Yeah, I follow all of them. They have a
Mhm.
Twitter page as well.
Yes, I find they're a great source for inspirational articles, motivational articles, word of the week. If you use that, yeah, a good source to share.
Mhm.
And I try, because my role as public relations, I tend to babysit the 2 district Facebook pages. So our public Facebook page, which is attached to the District 21 website, it's a public page. So what I put in there tends to be more corporate style of Toastmasters marketing from Toastmasters International rather than the personal. The other one we have is the Toastmasters Facebook group for the district. And it's a lot of, we encourage clubs to submit their stuff there, their content there. Get your name up and visible to your other clubs. The advantage to posting in there is that okay, you know, Samantha, you've got an active plan of what you're doing, but other clubs struggle. They haven't got a clue what kind, they haven't got a clue where they can get information from. You have to have fresh content all the time, and it's not just a matter of doing a content push, which used to be the old way. Now it's a matter of creating content that will create a dialogue or communication. What Facebook wants to see is that you're creating a community.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's all about engagement and coming up with original content. You want that organic, organic. That's a word I'm looking for. Leads, I guess. You don't always want to just be retweeting other people's content. You want the original content that'll attract some people. And I think it's a good idea if you are using a lot of social media, especially with Toastmasters too, is to come up with a content schedule. So I have a bit of a template that I've created so that I know what I tweet or post the week before, and then the night before, and then the day after an event. And it sounds like, Sam, you kind of do the same thing with your word and the theme of the night. So it's just to kind of have a template that you can follow, a bit of a content template if you wish as well, or just a template that talks about when you're tweeting what and posting which information. So it's just a calendar that's it's kind of a no-brainer to develop and help you as you go along. So you don't have to think about what do I do the day before and the day after. It's just kind of all there for you. So that's really helpful as well.
So do either of you have co-administrators on your Facebook page, or are you it?
Our club, Karen has access as well as the other executives. So we do have the executives have access to it.
Yeah, same here, same way.
Okay, I want to take this conversation a slightly different direction for a moment or two. I'm going to go into screen share, and what I want to do is show everybody a resource that we have on the D21 Toastmaster website that's underutilized. So I'm going to go into screen sharing, and I'm hoping that everybody's still going to be able to hear me as I talk about it. Oh, sorry, didn't do that right. Go into screen share. I changed, but okay, screen share. Screen 1. Okay, still hear me there?
Yeah.
Okay, screen sharing. I'm going into this particular screen right here. Can you see what I'm showing you?
Yep.
Okay, on the D21 website, which of course is d21toastmasters.org, up in the top navigational bar, there is an events section, an event calendar that we have. And it's loading right now. Right now, Webinar Wednesdays featured as an event that we're on right now. We're talking about. There's also a list of other events here. It tends to be area and division and district events, but it's wide open for clubs to put up their events to promote them. The process of doing so is easy. You just go back to the events link, and then you go to add an event. It's loading it. It's simple. Fill your name in, your email. That gives access to me because I'm also the webmaster. So it gives me a contact information. Your event name, when, where, time, same stuff same information you'd be putting on perhaps a meetup invitation or an Eventbrite, which is another way to market your event. If it's a free event, it doesn't cost you anything. Your location name, your address, your city, but basically all the data you need. But this is the section here that most people that submit our event are underutilizing it. What I often see is, like right now, currently at the time of recording, we're going through the area contests. The speech contests are underway, and then the different areas around the district, and then the division ones. So some of the area governors are putting up something. I'll make up a number, and it's not to pick on anybody. Area 32 conference, Tuesday night, 7 o'clock, 7 to 9, $3. That's all they have. It's posted as a public service announcement. So what you have here is a blank slate that you can create any kind of marketing copy that you have to try and grab your audience's attention. You are able to upload graphics to it. You can choose a file and upload an image to it. You can add graphics to it, like a logo. You can add pictures of happy, smiling Toastmasters. You can create promotional copy that entices somebody to come out. It's more than just a public service announcement, more than just putting details out. So at a club level, when you're promoting an event, as in Samantha, this would have been something available for you. Having the content on there, instead of creating your own website for it, when you quote, say you want to put a registration link on here, you could get there's Google has a free source of RSVP where you can register for events. You could put the link at the bottom of your event listing. Eventbrite also, you're able to put in your link there that takes them directly to the registration. So on this one simple page, you can promote your event. You can also use it as an access point for your registration. So if you're sending out emails or your press releases, you can use this address for your particular event. Like we're still in the ad event on the navigational bar, but your event will have its own particular URL, its own ID. You can quote that ID and use it for marketing purposes. Many people that use this, they tend to create a graphic or a PDF file that has all their information, and they cut and paste it into here so that it's very professional looking. So this is an underutilized. I'm going to go back to my other screen.
Yeah, I have used that in the past. I've probably put 3 or 4 events over the course of the year on there, but I certainly haven't used that area the way you described, using Eventbrite or anything like that. But I'll definitely consider it going forward because, like I said, it's a great spot to
it's free. It's free, and it's got lots of benefits for different groups to use. I'm just looking at my notes here. Whereas I think we're okay. Did I miss a comment here? Does the add an event submission update immediately or waits for your approval? Okay, currently it publishes it, posts it automatically. Back in the fall, we were having some problems on the back end of the website, and the editor wasn't working. So people were having to submit the content directly to me, and I was posting it. But now it's fully automated. It goes up. I look at it later, and I just do a little bit of tweaking if I see anything inappropriate. But odds are that I'm not going to. But sometimes it's just a matter of maybe they didn't think of something, or I'll put something in there, or I may even directly because I have contacted the email. I may directly contact the person and send it to them.
Yeah, so I think in fact in the fall I had trouble putting a photo up, and Carol guided me to you, and I think you put the photo up for me because it wasn't working.
There was problems back in the fall. Yeah, so hoping it works now because we are getting the events up here.
Yeah. Okay.
So at this point, if there's any other questions. D21 is a public website. How do you prevent spammers from posting events? Well, because every time an event is posted, I get an email that goes directly to me. And if it looks ridiculous, I just immediately delete it. It has not been a problem. I'm currently the webmaster. So my other role is public relations. I'm currently the webmaster. I didn't develop the site. I've came on board this year, but previously I had been the webmaster for the district website for a good 10 years when we were the original full-size District 21. I took that role over after I stepped down as district governor, my role as past district governor. We had problems with our email, and if you think spam, think in the terms of 5,000 to 10,000 email per day.
Wow.
Coming in. I had to turn that off because it was close to 1 million. I couldn't possibly in my lifetime read through them, so we had to turn that off. But the event, no, because we have the check and balance in place that it gets to me, and I follow through on them. If there's some problems, or I can add value to it, I'll contact the person and say you might want to suggest. So any other comments or questions before I do some closing remarks here from either of you?
Just trying to look at my notes to see if there's anything that I can add that I haven't talked about so far. I noticed that the District 21 is having a contest right now. It's called the Ambassadors PR Campaign Challenge.
I think it technically closed a couple of days ago.
A couple of days ago, on the 15th, I think, right? Or 17th?
Yeah, it was funny because when you were telling me all the different articles, I was going to fit it in, thinking, oh, you just missed it. It could have been a contender.
Well, I was on holidays for a few weeks, and I've been kind of behind. And one of our members, our VP of Treasurer, actually was kind enough to put an entry for us. So we'll see.
Good.
Yeah, so we managed
I'm promoting it, but I'm not involved with the logistics of it. Yeah, even those public relations, we had somebody else take that over for us. And as you say, one of the challenges we have with public relations is bringing on all of our public relations, VP of Public Relations.
I actually have a question for you. You were saying that the district will cover some of the costs of the meetup membership?
Yep.
So who would I talk to about that?
Contact Carol Carter.
Carol? Okay, because I think based on what Sam was saying, I think that might be something that we want to consider for the next year going forward. I know that we had a membership a couple of years ago, and we let it lapse because at that time, it was just before I joined actually, and they didn't find it too helpful, but I honestly don't know how much they were updating it. So I think we'd like to revisit that actually.
If you were to do it as a private individual, you sign yourself up as an organizer. Organizer fees went up last year, and I believe they're about $80 to $90 every 6 months. So you're looking at $180. If you have a business that you can write that expense off, it's worthwhile. You also get 3 profiles. I was using my personal Meetup account, my business, for 2 different businesses that, they're business, but I call them potential sources of income because I never really made any money. But I also had the 3rd profile as my Kelowna Flying Solo Toastmaster, but I didn't find it. Okay, so I just want to mention that this has been part of our Webinar Wednesday series, and our intent is to draw traffic to our clubs so that we can help convert them to members. If you're not familiar, on our District 21 website, we have a link there for Webinar Wednesdays, and there's about 4 or 5 more planned. They're on different subjects. We're going to be doing some panel discussions. We're going to be doing some interviews. I know. As I said, 4 or 5 are planned. After that, I think I plan on doing one on the subject of Facebook, how to use Facebook for marketing your clubs. There's currently about 8 webinars that we have already done. One of them is on video marketing, the way for future for promoting your Toastmasters club. It was one that I did a couple of weeks ago. basically a beginning and an intermediate level of how to use Facebook. I'm sorry, how to use video, like we're doing right now, actually, all different levels within to market your club. That's enough. And promoting your Toastmaster club, your Toastmasters public relations toolbox. I've done different presentations on public relations, so-called old school, so-called new wave. Some of the stuff we've been talking about this evening were covered in there. There's a lot more tools in there. One of the comments that I started to make was that, okay, we're trying to supply or provide as many resources for VP of Public Relations as we can. I believe that one of the challenges that the VP of Public Relations have, if you think about it, it's probably the most challenging of all the club officer roles. And Samantha, you jumped into it as your first club officer role. Whereas the president, VP of Education and Membership, you may need some Toastmasters experience, but you can get by with life experience. The VP of Public Relations, there's a lot of skills that come into place. You know, there's we've been talking about Karen writing articles, media releases. We're talking about Samantha, Facebook, post radio, public service announcements, even, and tweets. There's a lot of different things come into play, and there's the whole computer side of things. Samantha and I offline have been talking about video production. There's a lot of skills that come in, and I think that's one of the challenges that many VP Public Relations have. So I'm hoping that through these series of webinars that we have and the future ones that we have, that they can serve as a resource, and their VPRs will be more comfortable and take on more challenges. Because you know, how many of us went into Toastmaster to become a publicist or public relations manager? I've learned everything I have through Toastmasters.
One thing that's really helpful for VP of PR that want to do a lot of social media is you can sign up for a free membership on Hootsuite. And Hootsuite is a Vancouver company that specializes in marketing, social media, and that kind of thing. So if you sign up for your free profile, I guess, as you can call it, your free account, so you can log up to, I think, 3 social media profiles, and then you can manage it and do content scheduling and things like that. So if you are working full time and you are the VP of PR and you don't have time to go every day for an hour or half an hour and go and worry about content and posting, you can use Hootsuite as well. I'm just learning, getting into that too. So that is another really good resource.
Yes, that's a good point. I think it's, and actually I have never brought that up as a public relations tool. I have a pro account myself, and because I've lost count of I've got a dozen or so Facebook, dozen or so Twitter. They're easy to create, but hard to maintain. That's the way I look at it. The advantage of the Hootsuite dashboard. Even my professional one is like only $8 American per month. So while I haven't been using it lately, I still pay for it on a regular basis. But it's a quick dashboard, and it's a quick way to pre-publish or pre-post some of your things. Yeah,
it's definitely not cost prohibitive, that's for sure. So
But there's also now Instagram is just releasing it, Twitter's just releasing it. All the scheduling things will be now accessible on their own sites, like Facebook has. So if you run a Facebook page, you can actually pre-schedule everything, which is what I do. So on the weekends, I have some free time. I'll sit down and I'll pre-schedule like a month's worth of content, and that way I don't have to even think about it for all month. And then I also have my Instagram and Twitter accounts linked to my Facebook page. So every time I post something on Facebook, it actually posts on my Twitter account. And then anytime I post on Instagram or Twitter, it actually sends to my other accounts as well. So I only have to post once usually.
So I think if I go with the social media focused topic, I'll give you a call again, Samantha, put you back to work. I'm mindful of the time, so we're getting to the point where I need to be closing. I want to let everybody know that this recording of the webinar will be available on the District 21 website. There's a link at d21toastmasters.org /D21 and then resource library. It's in the top link. So it'll be there for future viewing. If you have any other video ideas for future videos for us, just send us a message and we'll follow up on that. And I'd like to give a final thank you to our guests for participating. It's been a lot of fun. I love these style of interaction. Any final comments before we sign off for the night?
Just the name that you provided was Carol Carter.
Carol Carter's. Yeah, just go to the D21 website. On the top, on the right-hand navigational bar, there's a Contact Us, and the first link that comes up is the administrative team.
Okay.
So Carol's smiling face will be there.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, well, thanks for inviting me, Rae. It was a pleasure, and maybe we'll meet up again soon, either online or in person somewhere along the way.
Okay, Samantha just put a link there. I'm going to copy it and take a look at it a little later. Okay, thank you, everybody, and thanks to our guests again, and thank you to our small but active audience for participating in this. Thanks for participating, and have a good evening. Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye-bye.